Welcome to My Private Professor's Innovation and Education Spotlight, where we profile forward-thinking leaders who inspire and empower others to achieve their greatest potential and lead tomorrow's world. My name is Sona Shah, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our guest, Navneet Chugh. Welcome to the show, Navneet. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Born and raised in Nagpur, India. Lived there for 19 years and the last 40 in California, Los Angeles. Did some studying in India, bachelor's degree and 1 year of law and 1 year of CPA. Then came here and I said, okay, let me finish everything I started. So did MBA and CPA and law and started my practice.
Can you talk to us a little bit about philanthropic endeavors, which I know there's been many?
Yeah, early on when I first started the practice in 1985, my first client was a nonprofit. I had no revenue, no business, but Sunil Dutt, the Indian actor, his wife was a very famous actress, Nargis Dutt. She had passed away due to cancer in New York, and he wanted to start a memorial foundation in his wife's name. So we started Nargis Dutt Memorial Foundation. And because I was a CPA, I was asked to become the treasurer. And so I got involved. I had no idea of the nonprofit sector of the United States back then. But then we did fundraising. The first fundraiser we did was $45 per person, which, by the way, was a lot of money in 1986. So we had the same trouble filling up the room that we have now with 500 per person. But we raised money, and then there was a decent amount of money in the bank account after 1 year. Then the issue started of what to do with the money. And then I have a friend who used to work at a hospital in a village in Maharashtra near Betul. And he said, I said, do you need any equipment? Like desperately. He says, yeah, we need a colposcope, which does cancer detection of the cervix. And I said, okay. So I found out that it cost $25,000. And then I found out that the India voltage is 240, and so US doesn't sell a colposcope at 240 volts. So we found one in UK. And then our board of the foundation started having discussions about where to send the money, and then I first saw the board politics of a nonprofit organization. But anyways, we sent a colposcope, which $25,000 was a truckload of money, I guess, in 1986. And then a few years later, I went to the hospital and I saw the colposcope working. And here, people in LA donating money to an Nargis Dutt Memorial Foundation headquartered in New York. The equipment being purchased in England, being shipped from England to India, to Mumbai, and then on trains to Nagpur, then on a jeep from Nagpur to Betul into a hospital. And you know, a colposcope maybe is used by 100 women a year in the United States, but in that town, there's nothing but a hospital. That's how good this hospital is. They're probably using it on 100 women a day.
That's really impressive. I really appreciate you sharing that you had no money or funds and yet still wanted to give back even at that time, so early on. What drove you to want to give back when a lot of people wait till once I reach a certain amount, once I, gain enough financial security, then I will give back? And it sounds like even though you didn't have that first peg, you still wanted to find a way to support the community, find a way to solve a need. What drove you to do that?
Maybe 3 or 4 things. One is Andrew Carnegie, who used to say that spend 1/3 of your life, the first 1/3 studying, and the second 1/3 working and making money, and third 1/3 doing social service. So like you said, everybody waits for gray hair. So I said, no, I'm not going to wait. And so with God's grace, my first client was a nonprofit, a non-paying client, of course. But I learned so much. I'm very grateful that I got my entire high school tuition was $10 for 12 years. And the entire college of 3 years was maybe $25. And I was desperate to do something for India, to give back.
I would love to fast forward based on what you shared to talk a little bit about your focus in philanthropy with respect to education, because I know you've been a pillar in that respect. Can you talk a little bit about that?
No matter how you look at it, the number one issue is education. So why not spend 50% of your charity time and dollars on education is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think that education is the game changer for so many people, and it is the measurable way to lift people up from where they are. Talk a little bit about your efforts at your own firm to be able to provide tutoring and the value that maybe you see from being able to provide educational opportunities for some of your own team members to be able to help their students. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I looked at my office and I slowly started realizing that half of the high school kids don't go to a regular college. And so my office, we had several people that had gone to community college and would drop out. And then I asked one person many years ago, like, why did you drop out? And she said, well, the tuition's $50 and I don't have money. I'm like, for $50, she's dropping out of college. And the least our firm can do is pay for her college, right? So we started saying to our employees that if you are in community college, we will pay for your tuition and books and parking. And if you're not in community college, then please go. It's such a cheap education.
I love that you've been able to bring that back and you see that tangible. I love that you focus on the amount and the benefit that it could provide, and to hear someone who by $50 suddenly was going to throw away an opportunity of being able to really take it to the next level, and noticing that that's something that you want to take on as a business regardless of size. I think that that's really admirable. And what I also love is not only are you helping your team members, but we're privileged to be able to work with you to help your team members' children. So you've actually gone even beyond helping your own employees with their educational needs, but you're helping their family. And I'm sure that during COVID, that was something that was a significant impact and caused a lot of stress. This is what we've heard from a lot of employees, but could you speak a little bit about that? And what was the reason why you wanted to do that? What inspired you to do that?
Some employee's kid is behind in school, then it's going to alter their entire life, and a little bit of money spent helping the children now will yield a wonderful result. So when we found out about your company, my private professor, and the help you're doing for the community and for young students, and I know deep down, the vision of my private professor is to help people and not really get money to buy a Rolls Royce. I can sense that. So I said, yeah, why not? Sona is doing so much, and so we should help and pitch in as well. So we told you that this is the budget we have, and you were very kind to accommodate, and our employees are so happy, I can't tell you.
That makes it all the worthwhile. And I appreciate your comment, because you do know we're very mission driven, and our goal is to make sure that we can help as many students succeed, and we do so by giving back with every hour and partnering with some wonderful nonprofits. We talked about Prepland before, and we're excited to partner with them for the College Ambassadors Program, where the students that want to be able to give back to Prepland and do so through tutoring with us. And many of our clients are getting tutoring grants or sliding scale, whatever they could afford, because we don't want to turn anyone away. So some of these youth that are participating, they're going to be able to get paid to tutor someone who may not be able to afford it, and then use that money to be able to help students in India. So to me, that's a win-win, and it's very mission-driven with what we're trying to do. It feels really good to know, and we've heard that from the feedback, that it sounds like it's helping the employees, and they're getting some good feedback from that.
Yes, every one of our employees, our HR director asked all the employees that have enrolled their children with my private professor, and every one of them was just happy, but super happy.
appreciate that. That's music to our ears. That's our goal, is to really help those students that wouldn't otherwise get the benefit. Tutoring is something that's not accessible for everybody in the US or in anywhere. So being able to provide that through an institution like yours is wonderful. How do we engage the next generation to be more inclined to give back in our community?
I think the kids will do what their parents do. And I think the kids copy the parents. So we should just keep doing what we're doing. They'll follow us.
Well, you've set such a great example, and I couldn't agree more. I think that a lot of times people talk, and what the children see, just as you said, they see the value that we put upon giving back, put upon hard work and school and education. And I feel like they value that because they see that we value that. And we spend energy and time, money, resources. If you don't have resources, you put in hours volunteering, but they see that that's something that's important. And so I hope that we're setting the tone for the next generation just by showing up in that space.
The other thing, Sona, that's very important to share with the next generation and with everyone, and especially India and Indians, is the secret of United States. And the secret of United States is not necessarily capitalism or democracy or Google or Amazon. It's the nonprofit world. It's an immense secret that's in front of our eyes, but nobody sees it. 1 out of 10 people in America work for a nonprofit company, primarily because of the hospitals and colleges. If you Google any one of the 19,000 cities in the United States, top 10 employers, 5 of the top 10 employers are nonprofits. UCLA and USC are amongst the top 5 employers in Los Angeles. If you Google the top 10 employers of Boston, all top 10 are nonprofits. Americans gave $450 billion to charity 2 years ago. And deep down, the secret of this country is the nonprofit world.
And I'm curious if you had a thought about how can we do better as a country to help more students succeed, more students get access to the resources they need.
I think technology will play a big part. I think we have a really good system. I know there's complaints and charter schools and this and that, but relatively speaking, we have a pretty good system with 13,000 school districts, and there's school boards and the parents run, and there's elections, and the education is down to the street level, whereas one community, a school board, a school district takes care of the education of the kids in that neighborhood. With technology and so many ed tech companies that are starting in the US, of course they're starting in India as well, but so many ed tech companies. I remember 10 years ago, students being asked by the school, you have to buy an iPad, and if you don't have money, tell us, we'll get you one. And this was happening like 10, 15 years ago, which is so wonderful. So I'm very hopeful. Are you?
I am very hopeful. I share that positive reflection upon where we can be. And I see it just even with the fact that we have nonprofits that are working with some of our companies to try to provide tutoring to some of the youth that otherwise couldn't get access. We're getting into such interesting partnerships and relationships just with us as a business. That I think that reflects something of there's a collective energy to want to help students that don't get access. I love that there's a lot of momentum that's starting to build, and it's more of the collective community. People are finding spaces. There's students that need the help. Let's figure out the best way so we can get the tutoring to these students, because individualized tutoring, in my opinion, is one of the greatest game changers, because as opposed to teaching to 30 students, you really can move the needle individually to help. And we've seen so much data and studies on how that's so helpful. So in my opinion, getting people access through whatever tutoring resources that are out there, there's so many wonderful ones, is something that I think could really move things forward for a lot of students. And
possible that one day, let's say there's a really, really superb, awesome high school teacher who teaches biology to 9th grade, and she is so good that her class can be beamed to 2 billion kids around the world.
I I feel that COVID has accelerated people's openness to remote learning and the fact that there's no physical boundaries anymore. I feel like before it used to be that you would work with you're in your school district or your school because that's where you are geographically located. And if you are lucky and fortunate that you're in an area where there's a lot of privilege and there's resources that are fueling your school, you're set. And if you're not, you're out of luck. And I think that one of the silver linings, as horrible as COVID has been to get people to reimagine what schooling is and education is, and to see that now, for us personally, you can live in the middle of nowhere and you can work with a tutor from Colombia remotely. I love the idea that we could learn from each other and really highlight and focus on education in a much more broader sense than what we've ever thought of before.
And literally for free.
And literally for free. Navneet, what is on the horizon next for you? Whether it's philanthropically or professionally, what's next?
I'm very happy with my practice. We have 20 offices now, 600 people, and we do full service corporate tax, legal, litigation, immigration, employment, M&A, criminal, bankruptcy, divorces, IP, everything. All of our offices are doing well. But I've increased my social contribution and charity contribution, helping a lot more charities. Became a founder of Ashoka University last year. I recently formed Gunj, which Gunj is India's goodwill and one of India's top 10 charities. So I really started their US operation this year. So I'm going to help them set up shop in US and raise money. And on, we're helping many alumni associations of India raise money in US. So this stuff will carry on, and we're very grateful to be in this situation, to be able to give time and money and help all these organizations.
I love your plethora of things that you plan to do, and I wonder how you can squeeze in what sounds like 60 hours worth of work every day into your regular schedule, because that sounds like a really tall order. But as I know you and have known you for quite some time, you have always exceeded expectations and always found a way to be a pioneer and support. So I no doubt believe you can do that all very well while running this very successful practice. What's your secret to be able to do all of this and manage everything?
I think it's the amount of learning I have received by getting involved in the nonprofit sector. And it's a secret. I hope nobody's listening to us, so I'll tell you. Doing social work and charity work is one of the most selfish things you can do, because the universe gives you 10x in return. So, all this stuff is actually entertainment, it's learning, it's growing, it's gratitude. When you help all these charities, which means you have to realize the problems. And when I started working with Antara, you see what's going on. Every time you look at these issues, it's nothing but gratitude about your life. I think it's very satisfying. Somebody asked Charlie Munger once, secret of happiness, and he said, lower your expectations. And then you're happy, because unhappiness is when your expectations are high and the reality is not there. But I think if to my non-Indian friends in America, I say that why don't you go visit India once? And if you go to India once, you'll never be depressed for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been such a wonderful exploration with you.
Thank you for everything you do and your family.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.